Thank you. Delegate Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the bill and for all the work that you put in here. So, just kind of piggybacking off of what Delegate Buckle was asking and Delegate Riley. So the grant money, just to clarify, is not going to be for, hiring and ongoing, you can use it for training, but not for securing the personnel. So that's all going to be on the local jurisdictions, correct? Just to be sure.
Correct. As the bill is drafted, what I would say, as we were just talking about, the high schools have sort of more resources in place already, so that first year of doing it in high schools, as it came out of committee, was not viewed as a huge expense. And then you're going to do the gap analysis and see really where the gaps are in middle schools and in elementary and other schools. So you'll have that in time. So that would be December 2018. So there could be money brought down by the governor in next year's budget if he wanted to assist local jurisdictions in that kind of an ongoing expenditure.
Okay. Because I've been discussbe this with I am from Carroll, and we do have a plan in place that I don't even want to really say publicly. But his concern is it's basically going to be, an unfunded mandate moving forward. And for our county, we're not a wealthy county. We've got a super tight budget. Mm-hmm. He can do it, but putting this on the state level, and then you're going to have to get the cooperation of the locals to provide the funding, is putting a small county like mine in a very difficult position, because we're having a hard time as it is hiring. We've got 10 openings right now, and to move forward, I know you can't fix the local issue, but there's only so much money to go around. So my concern is getting some flexibility so that locals are able to come up with a plan that makes sense, that maybe does not necessarily mean you have an SRO in every single school, but that makes enough sense. Is there flexibility? Because it sounded like there was, but...
Yes.
Yeah. I think there is. The concept is that the Center for School Safety, working with the local law enforcement and local school systems, will come up with guidelines for sort of, and I'm envisioning it as sort of a range of what would make sense in terms of actual school resource officers in schools. And, that doesn't mean one dedicated SRO in every school necessarily. You might have an SRO that was assigned to, if you have an elementary and a middle school on the same campus, you might have one SRO covering both of those. All those kinds of things that they would work out. And then also how to sort of supplement or combine that with local law enforcement coverage, and whether that's with existing resources or additional resources that are needed to do that. And so there would be these guidelines that would be developed collaboratively, and then each county would develop its own plan to implement the guidelines based on their specific unique circumstances. So that's the concept. And then beginning for all public schools for the 1920 school year, the locals would begin to implement their plans.
Okay. The other issue that was of concern, so the idea is that the folks, the deputies, whomever, that are going to be assigned to the schools are going to be trained under this uniform new way of being trained for this particular purpose. Another concern that he brought up to me is, all right, I've got my plan, and these people have been trained because that's what we were able to afford to train. What if I have someone that's out and I don't have I have a deputy that I could put in there, but they're not necessarily trained under these guidelines? Is there going to be some flexibility for locals to do what makes sense, so that in that case, we certainly have coverage, but it might not fall under that particular training guideline?
I think the curriculum is for somebody to be certified as an SRO. So if you have a deputy that was providing additional coverage but was not an SRO, they wouldn't need that training. It's the SROs that go through the specialized curriculum, the ones that are going to be formally or regularly in the school.
So, and just to piggyback on that, so I think how I would read the bill is every SRO who is assigned to a school has to go through the training.
So that's the concern. So we have a deputy. He's been trained as an SRO. So now we're going to call him an SRO, even though he's a deputy.
Right.
But if I have a gap and that SRO can't show up to work.
That's different. I think, so what I'm saying is, if a deputy is permanently assigned to a school as an SRO, that deputy has to be trained. But for coverage, substitutes and that kind of thing, it wouldn't necessarily, I think there is flexibility that for coverage purposes and substitutes and, you're out sick for a week or whatever, that person wouldn't necessarily have to be trained.
Okay. All right. Thank you.